Hi folks, Peter Hill, Field Agronomist with Pioneer Hybrid, part 2 of our sorghum growth and development series. We're going to talk about tillers. So tillers almost always originate from the nodes that are right at or just below the soil surface. So if you remember the anatomy of our crown, we have 4 nodes that are very tight together, a slight internode, and then usually a 5th node. And it's usually at the 4th or 5th that you'll get the development of the tillers. I have a couple of examples here. This is actually the same hybrid in the same row with, on this plant, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th tiller showing itself. And on this plant, I've got 1, 2, and 3. Talk to breeders, sometimes you'll see 7 or 8 tillers on a plant. So a lot of grasses have this characteristic. You'll see it in wheat, rice, barley, oats, several grasses in general. And in fact, as a point of reference, here's a corn plant with a tiller. We don't normally, we see tillers on corn, but we don't normally associate the tillers with anything to do with yield. Because the corn plant is much taller, a larger canopy, more leaf area, more shading, rarely does that tiller go on to put on a harvestable ear. However, in sorghum, a lot of the tillers, if not all of them, will put on a harvestable head. So the dynamics of farming, when we're at a low, ultra low population on sorghum, like we'll see on dryland areas throughout the Great Plains region, 15, 20,000, seeds per acre, we count on the tillers to put on a harvestable head to contribute a significant portion to overall yield. And that absolutely is the case, and the research shows that. When we start getting to higher plant populations, like 50,000 plus, and we get to higher yield levels, oftentimes, yes, we'll get a harvestable head on the tiller, but the grower doesn't always want that. And the reason why is the tillers are later to grow and develop, they're later to mature, it takes longer for the grain to dry down. So we literally have to oftentimes wait for the tillers to mature and dry before we can harvest. So here's a couple of points. Tillering, driven by genetics, certainly plant population as I discussed, but it's also driven by early season cool temperatures. If this sorghum plant can get up and grow fast, rapid, a lot of warmth, a lot of accumulation of GDUs or growing degree units, sometimes you will diminish or even eliminate tillering. But if we ever cool down, oftentimes then there's enough energy in the plant that the tillers will take advantage of that. And so the central stalk is not growing as fast, so it's not consuming the energy in the plant. And so then the tillers have an opportunity, and that's exactly what's happening this year. A cool spring, slowing the growth, and we're seeing a lot of prolific tillering throughout. The other interesting thing to note on tillering is that while we have a harvestable head on the tiller, the more tillers per plant, usually the smaller the head is on the central stalk. So wouldn't it be nice if that head size on the central stalk could be the same no matter what, and oh, by the way, here's some extra tillers and some extra harvestable heads per acre, but it doesn't work that way. So it's an interesting dynamic to watch this, the dynamics of plant population, plant-to-plant competition as affected by row spacing, hybrid genetics, all of these things come into play. So what I would say is, if it's important to you, talk to your sales representative, your seed professional, and say, hey, tell me about the ability, the proficiency of a hybrid to tiller. And they're all different, and we characterize them as we bring them forward into our commercial lineup. All right, so tillering. It's kind of that love-hate relationship with growers all around the world, but a fascinating component of grasses in general. And I hope you've enjoyed and look forward to the rest of the series. Thanks, folks.
That concludes this Pioneer Growing Point Agronomy video podcast. Visit our page on pioneer.com and follow us on Twitter and Facebook for more agronomy insights.